Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our sixth webinar with StoryStudio University. I'm going to give everyone a second to jump on. Education plays such an important role in the development of us as individuals, as well as the impact on our communities and our society. Investing in our own education and of others has been on the rise year after year and will continue to be one of the best investments one can make in their life. As you know, education comes in many formats: private colleges, public colleges, trade programs, higher education services, and so much more. The education vertical continues to develop new players and mergers in the space year after year. It's so important for leaders in the space to do exactly what they specialize in, which is to educate and specifically educate their target audience on their impact, influence, and how prospective students as well as teachers can be rising leaders in their local community. It's so clear that education continues to be valued in society and investing in education continues to rise. With that being said, we are so excited to have the conversation on how Story Studio helps educators, universities, colleges, and so many more in this vertical craft and share their story to their target audience, both locally as well as nationwide. Quick intro, many of you have met and have worked with me. However, for those of you who haven't, I'm Raquel and I'm the manager of creative strategy and development here at Story Studio. I love helping clients understand the impact that we play in creating, crafting, and distributing their story. As you know, we do this through our native offering with the influence of written editorial, as well as our podcast offering through the power of sound. As a quick reminder, I'm always happy to jump on any pre-sales opportunities with any of you, help answer any questions, share out of market examples, success stories, and overall help anywhere I can be of value to supporting you.
And my name is Rachel Lange. I will be co-hosting the call today with Raquel. I'm a transfer from the HTV side where I worked at our Louisville station for nearly 6 years. I started off as a digital client specialist, and then I moved into an account executive role where I sold both digital and television products. I don't want to brag or anything, but I did make the top 10 digital sales list 3 years in a row. And then I joined the Story Studio team in November of last year. And my main goal here is to give an old AE's perspective on how our marketing materials can be even more helpful for our sellers. And I'm also around to help you talk sales and strategy. It's something that I love and I'm passionate about. And if I can help you, great. I'm excited to co-host this call today on such an exciting and growing category. What's on today's menu in the cafeteria? Logo soup. It's no surprise that here at Story Studio, we've worked with schools ranging anywhere from large and small universities, community colleges, private schools, elementary through high school, trade school programs, as well as a slew of online and MBA and other graduate programs. Here is a sampling of some education institutions that we've worked with. As you can see, there are some blank spots where you can add your own client into the mix. And moving right along, into Raquel's Facts and Stats 101 class is now in session.
Thanks, Rachel. I'm constantly scouring the internet for the latest and greatest market trends, something I'm very passionate about. I love sharing these with new prospects as well as existing clients, sharing how we can play an essential role in their growth strategy. So let's take a look at the first stat. COVID relief was sent to so many businesses to support economic recovery, including educational institutions. In fact, tens of billions of dollars. Educational institutions still have tens of billions of dollars in pandemic relief to spend before the fall of 2024. This serves as a pivotal time for schools, universities, and colleges to make their investments now in their marketing programs to pay dividends in the immediate and long-term future. With people spending so much more time at home than ever as a result of the pandemic, this has forced people to reflect on their job security in such a volatile economy. Upon this time of reflection, there's been an influx of inquiries into higher education programs. 42% of people say that the pandemic has made them more likely to enroll in an education program. Investing in oneself through personal education is proven to be the single-handedly best investment paying dividends in the future. Gen Z is swiftly becoming a primary consumer demographic for the education industry and leaders. Engaging with this audience requires a specific mix of marketing elements, incorporating elements like video, podcasts, social, and AR filters, which are all projected to grow with this audience within next year. Integrating elements like these are essential to engage and drive brand connection with this growing audience in the years to come. I want to take a pause here. With such compelling stats, it's clear the opportunities within this education vertical are there. Rachel, with your background in digital selling and engaging with decision makers in this category, from your perspective, what is the best way to engage with these decision makers? And as a follow up, who are the decision makers within this vertical?
That's a really good question. I would say it's important to start off by researching their website to see if they have any hiring needs. This could range anywhere from the need to hire bus drivers and mechanics to the need for substitute teachers. You can also check and see if they have any open houses coming up, see what their competitors are doing, and see if they're active on social media and what kind of things they are posting to their pages. I think that showing examples is also a really good way to engage in any category, especially education, since you have so many fantastic examples to choose from. You can browse our Airtable or even check out our new education case study. And also just going the extra mile and saying how you might tweak an example or add in an interactive element like a quiz or interactive campus map or creative extension like social media or podcast to make it more relative to their goals. And as far as decision makers, at least in my experience with universities, it's typically been some sort of president or VP of marketing, VP of communications. With, say, a private high school, we're talking principals. When it comes to public schools, I've typically seen different types of directors making the calls. And for education, especially, their website can be your best friend. A lot of the time, there's a section where you can meet the staff, and it typically has the name, job title, and sometimes even an email address for each faculty member, or at least the higher up, so to speak. And of course, you can also check out LinkedIn. As a rule of thumb, always start with the highest up person that you can find that makes sense, as they're going to be the ones who can directly tell you yes or no. I'm going to pass it back to Raquel now as she schools us on the 5 C's. And I promise these aren't just your average classroom grades. These are the C's you actually want when engaging education prospects.
Thanks, Rachel. Continuing on our theme of the 5 C's since our last webinar, they also can be applied to the education vertical. So the first one being customization. All of our campaigns are personalized content to suit your education client or prospect's specific target audience and positively affect education decisions. Every education campaign that we create, whether it be through native, podcast, social, or even all of the above, are strategically customized to capture, engage, and recall personal connection with your education client and their end user. Second would be choice. Choice is one of the strategies we'll incorporate into our stories to motivate and engage prospective students, for example. Giving prospective students as well as their parents a choice of what content that they're interested in throughout the experience really works as a motivation to connect with your education client and stand out from others in the market. Convenience, students want to feel supported. So we do this through presenting students with relevant content, including helpful, useful tools, different resources that help them understand more about the education client on a very connected level. So for example, if I was back to school, which for me feels like forever ago, and I wanted to learn more about what makes a college on my list unique, I want to be presented with convenient and relevant info about the university. So like learning more about their student body or maybe what scholarships they offer, or just knowing all things about the university. Connection. We thrive on helping education clients connect and figure out what that connection would sound and look like for prospective and current students, as well as teachers. It's so important for us to educate these readers on how your education client or prospect understands them to really create a long-standing connection with their audience. Last but not least, community. Community in education is so important. Students want to know that they're truly not just a number, and educators want to engage with their local community to really feel like they have a greater purpose. Putting myself in a student's shoes, I want to know and hear that, for example, a university isn't just a big name. I want to know that they encompass many voices and care about their greater impact on their community. A great way to further connection in an education story is both through leveraging student testimonials, alumni voices, faculty, or even by integrating existing influencer partnerships to drive emotional and community connection. I really love this example we pulled, Rachel, for Youngstown University, which was hosted on WTAE. It really showcases how, even with a standard layout, we can customize the story to fit YSU's goal of appearing newsy while also engaging with their younger audience through the customized interactive modules. The goal of this story was to educate prospective students on all things YSU, so that being affordability, their vibrant campus, as well as supporting them with a quality education. The first customized feature comes in the form of an open house module. We created this to allow readers to download the calendar to their personal computer or mobile device. And next, we have a testimonial custom element that was included to engage readers and resonate with them through emotional connection to see what their student body looks like those of Katie Burdett, a YSU graduate, shared with readers on how she valued how much YSU made campus home for her in so many forms. Another testimonial custom element was created to drive brand engagement and further engaging readers with one of their voices behind the university as pictured here. Lastly, a real-time social feed was created custom to YSU, showcasing their vibrant campus life, amazing amenities, and diversified student body. All of these custom elements YSU owns in entirety and can reuse any of them in their marketing or future collaborated stories. Rachel, I'm curious, what do you love about this example?
I especially love when we take a traditional layout and add in some interactive elements. I think it just blends in perfectly with the news site's look and feel, in this case, WTAE, but also has that extra oomph with some added movement, like the open house add to calendar feature, as well as like the testimonials in the social feed. So I can really see both the credibility aspect paired perfectly with the engagement features.
I couldn't agree more, Rachel. Our next C, choice, as mentioned earlier, gives targeted readers the opportunity to engage, feel connected, and that the content presented to them is relevant for them, serving as an effective strategy, truly driving motivation for the reader throughout the editorial as well as journey. The goal of this story with Texas A&M University San Antonio was to educate readers on how the university supports all of their education needs and prepares students for a bright and prosperous future. This included both a branded content hub as well as 4 story series. I also want to note as a reminder that content hubs always include 2 interactive elements, and we'll walk through some of them as we scroll through. A great way of furthering brand connection is through a very strategic headline. The one here really captures readers with a very personal hook. Discover your highest potential with a master's degree from Texas A&M University San Antonio. Now, positioning myself as the targeted reader, I'm instantly presented with a choice to engage with the additional content leverage within the hub. So perhaps I'm interested in learning more about the fast track MBA offerings Texas A&M University San Antonio has to offer. Or I'd like to learn more about the impact that a master's degree in counseling would have on my future. Incorporating interactive modules like the flashcards presented here allows me to learn more about the different pillars behind the university. And as a reminder, all the interactive elements the client would own. This example also does a fantastic job of educating their readers through the infographic presented. The myth versus fact interactive quiz here presents readers with a choice on testing their knowledge on the education sector, as well as general program questions. As another reminder, the responses behind all the interactive elements are all measurable, and the client will have access to this data, which really provides us insights for them into their target audience, as well as learnings for a future campaign. The university valued how the quiz and flashcards, as well as clicks on the stories, help them understand where their students are most interested in for furthering their content. Now, I just love this faculty spotlight shown here. It really allows me to engage and choose which professors and voices behind the university I'd like to engage with, and so much more. This truly works to further humanize the university in a very unique and engaging format. And lastly, I love seeing their social presence incorporated in the hub. As mentioned earlier, this strategy engages so well with their younger target audience.
I really love how this hub turned out. I have to imagine that the reporting looks pretty good. Do you have any metrics that you can speak to so far on it?
Yeah, the performance has been looking really great. Since launch date on December 12th, we've been pacing really far ahead. Thus far, we've recorded over 40,000 engagements, which is really fantastic.
Thanks for sharing that, Raquel. And moving right along into convenience, we wanted to feature the MySA Education Guide. San Antonio actually has one of the largest college student populations with over 200,000 students. And so, what they really needed was a centralized location to house materials and information for multiple universities for prospective college students. Thus, San Antonio's co-op hub was born, and for those who may not know, a co-op hub is when multiple clients buy into the same hub, which not only cuts costs for individual clients, but it provides readers with an extremely well-rounded and immersive resource, hence the convenience that we mentioned earlier. So you'll notice on the MySA guide that it features multiple colleges with individual content. Each of these click through to an individual custom story for each university. And as we scroll down the page, it also features flip cards, which allows you to learn more about each university, and some feature a quick video. Additionally, there is an ebook which readers can download for a bit more information on this topic as well. And I have a question for you, Raquel. What is your recommendation for where to begin with a co-op hub?
Well, first and foremost, brands just love these partnerships. Local businesses want to be a part of their community's voice. I've seen partnerships prove the most successful pre sales when they're presented as an exclusive opportunity. This allows the business to receive local recognition within their market, among other top businesses locally. Also, the co op hub has a lower cost to entry and lower risk for those who might have tighter restrictions on their allocated budget. This is also such a great medium to get their feet wet and then eventually move them into a single branded content hub once we prove the first being successful.
That's a really good point. Do you have any examples off the top of your head of clients that have participated in a co-op hub and then later done solo branded projects on their own?
Actually, yes, featured in the MySA guide that you just walked through, Texas A&M University and St. Mary's Universities have both participated in that co-op hub, and now they have their own branded series. So it's really cool to have seen them evolve through both.
Very true. They both are in this hub. One last thing I wanted to point out, because you did mention that co-op hubs have a lower cost to entry, is it's also an extremely fast creation process as well. Because the framework has already been built out, this would be an extremely turnkey solution for any market that wanted to recreate this for their area.
Absolutely. And we're here to support you in having that conversation with them.
So jumping into our fourth C, connection with Sonoma Academy. Sonoma Academy is a private school with more than 300 students who we've been working with for 3 years now. They were wanting to educate students and parents about their many programs that they offer and hopefully increase interest in an upcoming open house. It goes on to describe how all of the ninth graders participate in a belonging curriculum where they pair up with a mentor and do some self exploration to help prepare for the next 4 years of high school. They also use a ton of pictures to show off some of their travel programs where students are able to visit Bali, China, Cuba, Germany. And if that doesn't seal the deal enough, they also included a virtual tour of the campus with hotspots to further explain what it is that you're looking at, which is a great way to get familiar virtually before visiting in person. Hey Raquel, for clients that would really like to include interactive features but don't necessarily know where to get started or what interactive features would be best for them, what would you recommend?
Absolutely. So we can brainstorm thought starters for those clients and provide rationale as to why those elements fit so well into the stories. And we also would provide insights for them. So we know what interactive elements work well in the education space from our work with other education campaigns in other markets. As mentioned earlier, the interactive elements work really well with the Gen Z audience.
Speaking of connection, one thing we're seeing emerge more and more is advertisers getting into podcasts. In case you didn't know, surprise, Story Studio can make a standalone or podcast series for any client. We've even come up with some ideas that you could turn around and sell to a client in the education space, like College 101, which would be a podcast of how to engage with your professors and other faculty, maybe how to choose courses based on the career you want, what to expect at orientation, and maybe what it is that you need for your first day. Another idea could be the program podcast, which would be the podcast that features information about sports, intramurals, clubs like business and teaching clubs, as well as ski club, or special interests like cybersecurity and pottery. Another fun podcast idea could be something called The Morning Announcements, which is a podcast to fill parents and students in on the latest. Raquel, you're kind of the podcast queen around here. What else can you tell us about our podcast program?
So, through the power of sound, brands can engage with their audience through targeted promotion the same way our stories are strategically delivered. I believe marrying the power of storytelling through native and podcast truly proves to be a powerhouse strategy. Another value prop that I always mention when communicating with a new prospect about our podcast offering is that they would own the content. They would own the actual podcast episode, as they do with any of our stories or design elements that we create for them. Lastly, not only are podcasts growing exponentially in listenership, but brands are growing their presence on this audio medium. Perhaps there's a client that can't afford broadcast or looking to appeal to a younger audience, and this offering serves as a great fit for them.
If anyone has any questions about our podcast offerings or you think it might be a good fit for your client, feel free to reach out to us and we would love to help you out with some thought starters and maybe a bit more information. And now it's time for our final C community with our featured story from Michigan Works. This group's goal was to provide Michigan youth with resources to complete their GED, enter the workforce, increase interest in trade school, etc. This was executed in February of last year when the unemployment rate was roughly 3 to 4%. Michigan was slightly higher at 5 to 6% and even higher for the 16 to 24 age bracket. There are barriers presented to teens and young adults, such as financial issues or being in the foster care system, which can be extremely prohibitive to college education, getting funding for that, as well as internships, especially unpaid ones, and so forth. Because this group does so much, we made it a little bit more digestible for readers by using a bullet point format to list out some of the things that they help with. This story further engaged readers with photos and testimonials to help show off their GED completion program and their job shadowing program. And of course, there are multiple calls to action that are provided within the story, which are all reported on within the dashboard. And speaking of reporting, we know that this story really resonated with its target audience because the average time spent that we saw on it was 12 minutes and 40 seconds.
So 12 minutes and 40 seconds is extremely high for time spent on a story. That's 12 times the industry average for sponsored native. How does that time spent compare to the education vertical as a whole?
So for education in particular, the average time spent is 2 minutes and 57 seconds. So it's just under 3 minutes. So yes, you're correct. This Michigan work story is extremely high, which is how we know that it resonated so well with their target audience. And this wraps up our final example for the day. And I do want to ask Raquel, as a strategist, what are some ideas that you have that would be cool for this space or to engage in education prospect?
Great question, Rachel. In such a crowded and competitive landscape with new players entering the education marketplace year after year, I believe it's so important to communicate to education prospects that you truly understand how vital it is to engage with their younger audience in a unique way that will drive engagement. Gen Zers have been studied to have banner blindness and don't want to feel marketed to. Our writers are passionate about staying up to date with the best strategies to engage with this audience. Bringing in proposed strategies like through these visual experiences, like our experience layout, is so important. Also, integrating interactive modules like a myth fact quiz about the college, university, or even bringing in a poll about who they are and what they value as a prospective student are all strategies we incorporate to stay relevant and ensure engagement with this audience. So, I would definitely communicate all of the above when having a conversation with an education prospect.
Okay, so with Gen Z and millennials being the primary demographics for an education audience, what role do you think social media needs to play in the mix?
Great question, Rachel. So, Gen Zers, as you know, spend so much of their day on social media, and it really has such a great influence on their decisions. I believe it's so important to include these social elements into their media plan with your education campaign. So, whether it's through, a sponsored social post, including AR filters custom to the university, including social feeds, perhaps it's promoting the education client's social accounts, and so much more. Really just making sure that social plays a role into your media plan, your client's media plan, is so vital to engage with the specific audience.
I agree. It should definitely be a standard practice for any education institution.
Welcome spring, sunny skies, and a new sales opportunity because why not? Let's re engage those education clients who may have taken a pause or offer to existing clients campaigns to give them a boost. We're offering a boost special for $1,500. They'll receive 250,000 impressions and 1,000 engagements guaranteed, which will be allocated to a new or existing story.
That's a really great deal for adding on quite a bit more promotion to a story. So I hope that plenty of you take advantage of this. So when does this promotion end?
Great question, Rachel. So this promotion will run through the end of May. Feel free to reach out with any questions.
And of course, we have to plug our Instagram account. If you want to feel even more educated, inspired, and overall good vibes, give us a follow. Our handle is at Hearst StoryStudio. Take out your phones now, open up Instagram, unless you're already scrolling and tuning me out, then stay right there and give us a follow. Lastly, when you receive this deck, you'll notice that this slide has some helpful resources linked. I do want to draw your attention to our new resource library. This is hot off the press and contains all the information to complete your Story Studio dreams. And it includes quick links to everything from case studies to examples, timelines, and webinars to our products. Maybe you're wondering what's the difference between a high impact layout versus an experience? What's the difference between an experience and a branded hub or content library? Here, you can easily find that out by clicking, and it takes you to an easy to digest one sheet on the topic. I also want to show off the case studies tab in particular because we have an exciting new education case study for your own enjoyment. Some light reading material here shows off our 2022 stats for education stories alone. We served over 132 million impressions and yielded over 472,000 page views or engagements, meaning that someone remained on the page for 30 seconds or more. And as you scroll down, there are 5 examples included in our case study, Texas A&M, Salisbury School, and some super helpful information, at least what I love, are the promotion details where you can see not only what audience they targeted, but the geo-targeting as well and how long the flight was running. And of course, you can even view the entire story within the frame as well. And of course, our creative extensions, anything from our email blasts to our video and editing, our social and podcast offerings. They're here for you to browse and learn the latest. I do hope that you guys will take advantage of this resource and bookmark the page so that you can refer to it later. And in light of the resource library, I do have one more surprise marketing material for you all. This is the education RFP. We created this so that you're able to bring a proposal to an existing education client or prospect, and you don't have to do any of the heavy lifting. This covers everything from who Story Studio is to our different layouts. And each of these are education examples that are linked below, as well as interactive elements that are specific to the education category. Again, all linked below. We have spots for thought starters that our team would be more than happy to put together. You just need to reach out to us. And it even goes on to show some screenshots of ad units, again, in the education category. And this is super exciting and something that we have been wanting to roll out for a long time. It also includes packages that you're able to fill out and put your own pricing and details in. And of course, this is something that we'll link in the follow-up as well. And just to make things a little more exciting, we're staying on the education theme and we'll be sending out a pop quiz after this. Anyone who gets a perfect score of 100 will be entered in to win a gift card. So be on the lookout for that, and maybe you could be a big spender in the near future. And that's a wrap on the education webinar. Thanks for joining today as we covered so many trends, examples, and fresh ideas. I hope you leave feeling inspired to call on some new and existing education accounts. Of course, we're here to help you on your sales journey, whether that means answering any questions, crafting proposals, or joining you on client meetings. Our email is storystudio@hearst.com, where someone from our wonderful team will always get back to you in a timely manner. I want to go ahead and open the floor at this time for any questions.